Hello. Good afternoon. My talk with you this afternoon is reconciliation. When you look it up in a dictionary, there's several definitions, right? Reconciliation, you can reconcile your bank account, you can reconcile after your separation and divorce. In this instance, I want to talk about reconciling the history of Aboriginal people with the extension of sovereignty made by Her Majesty the Queen. Indigenous people lived in their territories for thousands of years. When Europeans arrived, upwards of 90% of them passed away and died from diseases like influenza. When the government and the churches put them into residential schools, the Royal Proclamation says that 60% of the children in British Columbia perished in those schools. 60%. Today, half the children in care taken from their homes are Aboriginal, and half the in-custody youth offenders in today's prisons are Aboriginal. Our people live below the poverty line, most of them. The Supreme Court of Canada has asked us to reconcile. The churches have asked us to reconcile. But in my view, reconciliation, although it's important in the consequences of having two cultures come together, are historical facts. And the great work that Murray Sinclair did in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission brings home the need for the three solitudes in Canada to come together. Can we afford to pass on to the next generation the walls that have been built? Or can we find a way to build bridges? I promise to consider and to continue the job of reconciliation after Murray Sinclair asked me to be a witness. In contemplation, as a musician, as a songwriter, as an artist, I wanted to do something more personal. Because in my view, although these other exercises are important to raise awareness, reconciliation doesn't happen somewhere else. It doesn't happen outside of you, but rather it begins inside of you. It begins here, in your heart and in your mind. How do you feel when you see someone else of a different sexual orientation, for example, someone else of a different color? In this self-examination, I think a lot of us are of two minds. We'd like someone else to take care of the problem. Perhaps we wish it would just go away on its own. But it's my position that each and every one of us, Native people, the newcomers, the settlers, everyone, we have to make a personal commitment to try to look at other people through different eyes. Every time I hear that introduction about the things that I've done, I think of that song. It's not what you did. It's not who you knew. It's how you lived it. I'm not my robes. I'm not my title. I'm not even my sexual orientation or my historic cultural identity. I'm actually just a soul traveling through this body in a journey to learn lessons. And when you leave the world, you don't get to take your Cadillac. You don't get to take the church that you were in. You don't get to take the golden records. You get to bring with you that which you've learned. I love that story about the rich man that went to heaven, and they showed him his little shack to live in. And he said, God, I had a beautiful home when I was on the earth. Why do I have this little shack? He says, that's all you sent me. We've got to give. We've got to help others. But we've got to come together in our thoughts and our minds. How do we do that? Don't you love the music? The songs have a tremendous way of healing our hearts. And my personal project and commitment is to promote reconciliation through music. So I wrote a song called British Columbia. I think we should celebrate the fact that we're together here in British Columbia. What's wrong with that? We don't have enough music about the places we live in. You hear about Chicago, you hear about New York. What's wrong with Vancouver, right? I think the band got it right when they named themselves Chilliwack. I thought that was great. So I'm going to play some of this song for you. It begins with our own Aboriginal music, and in our culture we sing the vowels. Oh, 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 and I imagine young people coming into an auditorium drumming that song. It's an opening to a potlatch. It's a canoe song. Our people traveled by canoe. There wasn't Volkswagens and highways and airplanes and trains. We went by canoe. And when you sang your song, the people knew who you were by the song you were singing. Bring me my guitar, master. Aha, there he is, Mr. Clean. Laugh, that's good. We got to laugh, right? British Columbia, precious land is thee. From God to us, a sacred trust to hold in harmony. Go travel round the world, see some wondrous thing that will not be found again, a place where beauty sings. And I imagine little children singing this part. We'd love to see the sun go down, all red upon the water. Oh, the sailors see abound, the eagle whale, the otter. British Columbia, we call home. And precious land is thee. From God to us, a sacred trust to hold in harmony. From God to us, a sacred trust to hold in harmony. Thank you very much.